Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from the Daily Signal dated October 12th, and it says, however bad you think Biden's DOJ was, new documents show it was even worse. And I'm not surprised. I mean, that's where I'm going with this. And yesterday I did put up a video about the FBI, the scandal that they just had as well. So it just seems like more and more information that's coming out from the Biden administration, the worse things are looking. So let's get into it. It says, imagine a leftist group with ties to Antifa put conservatives and Christians on a hate map with defunct chapters of the Ku Klux Klan, and that map inspires an act of terrorism that would go on to contribute to the demonization of Turning Point USA ahead of Charlie Kirk's assassination. And, that actually was a thing that happened. It says, now imagine that, rather than investigating such a group, the Justice Department sidles up to it, asking these radical leftists for direction on how to track civil rights matters, in scare quotes. It says, imagine the feds host quarterly meetings with this group, cultivating close relationships with its leaders, and inviting its staff to train prosecutors on combating hate crimes. It strains credulity, doesn't it? How could federal law enforcement become so blind to the obvious bias and destructive influence of such an organization? How could the American people put up with an administration that would weaponize justice against conservatives in this way? It says, longtime readers will rightly suspect that I'm talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center and its relationship with the Biden administration. And the author says that he thought he was long past being surprised by any new evidence about this horrifying relationship. After all, he wrote the first story on it back in January 2024, and I believe I might have done a video on it all the way back then, because I know I've done other videos from the Daily Signal specifically on the SPLC and how bad they are. And he also said it formed the inspiration for his second book, The Woke-topus. Yeah, okay, that's the right way to pronounce it. The Dark Money Cabal Manipulating the Federal Government. It says, yet America First Legal recently released another tranche of documents as obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests, shedding yet more light on this relationship, and this evidence surprised me yet again. So next section here is called Kristen Clark, and you're about to find out who she is. And I remember people saying at the time that she was nominated for her role that this was not a good idea. So let's get into Kristen Clark. So it says, Kristen Clark, the Assistant Attorney General, who headed the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division under President Joe Biden, reached out to SPLC President Margaret Huang for a 15-minute phone call in October 2022, seeking to connect and hear if there are federal civil rights matters of concern that we should be tracking. Says she was asking for guidance from the SPLC. Yeah, here's the email about it. I was going to say, you work at the DOJ. Why are you asking someone else basically to tell you what is bad or not? Like, shouldn't you have an idea there? Says this email confirms that Huang had the kind of relationship with federal authorities that she bragged about in a meeting with donors back in 2021. She said that many agencies in the new Biden administration had reached out to solicit our expertise to help shape the policies to counter the domestic terrorism threat. The problem is that she's on the side of all the domestic terrorism. So that's a problem. It says DOJ buddies with the SPLC. And remember, too, before I even go on, I don't know if the article is going to go into it or not, because I have not actually read the article before doing this video. But the whole reason of the congressional baseball shooting happened way before, when Steve Scalise, who I believe is the majority whip right now, was almost murdered and probably should have died. I'm glad he's still with us, though. The reason that even happened was because the leftist who went and shot up the place, was looking to kill Republicans, saw that these people were on the SPLC's hate map and went and committed this shooting because of that. So the SPLC has literally assisted with terrorism, okay? And keep in mind, too, that they get sued pretty much constantly about having people on their list that are not the things they say that they are, and they lose all the time. So it says DOJ buddies with SPLC. It says the close relationship did not just extend to the heads of the Civil Rights Division and the SPLC, however. Michael Lieberman, Senior Policy Counsel for Hate and Extremism at the SPLC, reached out to Robert Moosey Jr., Deputy Assistant Attorney General at the Civil Rights Division, with a message suggesting a close relationship back in April 2023. It says, is it time to reinvigorate our coffee and Danish meetup across from Justice, Lieberman asked. I hope we can do that soon. As the Daily Signal previously reported, Lieberman reached out to Moosey again in June 2023, offering an embargoed copy of the SPLC's hate map for 2022, which added parental rights groups, including Moms for Liberty, to the map. And Moms for Liberty is like the most anodyne group imaginable. Like, why they would be on anybody's hate list is just reeks of partisan politics. And, got a bout of the hiccups again. So here is the email, and if you need to see this email yourself, because I'm going to move on to the next part, you can the article is linked below, and you can always click on it and check it out. It says the information transfer went both ways. In December 2023, Musi sent an embargoed copy of the FBI's annual hate crimes report to Lieberman. There it is. It says America First Legal also obtained documents showing that Lieberman took part in a quarterly civil rights meeting with the DOJ, suggesting he and other SPLC staffers enjoyed recurring contact with the Civil Rights Division about every 3 months. And there's another email. So I'm just amazed at this. So yeah, we're asking this group who has a habit of being wrong about things and mislabeling people for their help. Okay. America First Legal also obtained an official schedule for Clark's March 2023 trip to Selma and Montgomery, Alabama, showing that she toured the Southern Poverty's, I cannot say their name all of a sudden, Southern Poverty Law Center, there we go, their headquarters and its Civil Rights Museum in Montgomery. The Daily Signal previously reported on documents showing plans for this meeting, and there's an itinerary. It says other documents also confirm the Daily Signal's prior reporting that R.G. Cravens, manager of research and analysis at the SPLC's project, which publishes the hate map, spoke at a conference for Justice Department prosecutors on November 7th of 2023. A program for the prosecutor event noted that Cravens would focus on the anti-LGBTQ movement and help investigators and prosecutors identify potential evidence and motivations for biased crime. So, as many critics have called the SPLC anti-Christian because it brands Christian groups anti-LGBTQ hate groups, which is just not true if they knew anything about Christians at all. Says the SPLC long defended itself against this charge, presenting as evidence, in scare quotes, against it, that the SPLC did not add focus on the family to the hate map. I thought they were called never mind, that is right. I'm stupid. Yet earlier this year, it added focus on the family to the hate map. Whoops. Says Cravens himself justified putting focus on the family on the hate map by suggesting that the traditional Christian position on LGBTQ issues was both false and dangerous. Well, no, no. Just stop. I like it. There's something that's existed for 2,000 years, and they're just like, oh, now it's false and dangerous. Yeah, okay, sure. You don't like it, so you're leaving it false and dangerous, you moron. So next section is the big picture. Under Biden, the Justice Department acted on a memo comparing concerned parents to domestic terrorists. It prosecuted pro-life protesters who while largely turning the other way as pro-abortion radicals vandalized pro-life pregnancy centers and Catholic churches. This week, Senator Chuck Grassley revealed, and that was what I was talking about in yesterday's video, that the FBI collected cell phone data on Republican senators as part of the Arctic Frost investigation, the probe that formed the basis of special counsel Jack Smith's electors case against President Donald Trump. Even so, this close relationship with the Southern Poverty Law Center strikes me as one of the worst abuses, as it reveals among officials tasked with law enforcement the utter contempt for law-abiding conservatives who disagree with the left's agenda. Thus, thankfully, the FBI under Kash Patel has distanced itself from the group, but I fear that its influence will return under a future administration. And you're probably right, good sir, writing the article. But yeah, Kash did sever ties with the ADL and the SPLC, which absolutely had to be done. So, once again, more BS that the Biden administration was involved in that was a detriment to anybody to the right of Chairman Mao politically. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.